This is an introduction to the video that I'm going to hope and recommend that you watch. It doesn't last very long, and it's a guy named Jordan Adler who epitomizes what it means to have commitment and stick-to-itiveness. This is a guy who makes millions and millions of dollars a year in marketing, network marketing, online marketing. But his first 11 years in the business, he joined 11 different companies. He spent thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars that he didn't really have. It was all on credit cards. And he didn't make one sale, and he didn't sponsor one person. So what made the change for him? He understood that if he kept going, there would be a breakthrough. Something would happen that would make that change. Watch the video, see what it was, because this guy is a shining example to all of you out there who say, oh, if I can't make it in 3 months, I'm going to give up, I'm going to look for something else. You have to know what the secret is, and he's going to share it with you. God bless.
Hi, my name is Jordan Adler. I grew up in a small suburb south of Chicago, and my father saved his whole life for me to go to college for 1 year, and then we were required, myself and my sisters were required to graduate from college. So I go down to the University of Illinois, and when I graduate, I take a guitar, a suitcase, and $250 and move to Arizona because there was a lot of building going on, and I had a degree in landscape architecture. I don't know where it came from because I grew up in a non-entrepreneurial family, but I was an entrepreneur. And I started applying for jobs. At the same time, I was answering classified ads for different opportunities. And I signed up in network marketing companies. My job, I had many jobs when I first, got started in the working world. I rented roller skates, and I worked at a gym, and I began drafting and different things like that. But I was always interested in these little entrepreneurial enterprises, and I had picked up a book at a garage sale for $1 called The 10 Napkin Presentations by Don Failla. And I read the book, and I got really excited about the idea of leveraged income, the idea of being able to get paid over and over again for work that you do one time. I embraced that idea and that concept, and so I started looking at these different classified ads and signing up in different network marketing companies. Now, my jobs were paying me under $20,000 a year. And after working in the in the corporate world, I actually joined an airline actually joined an airline in the 80s, and I was there for 10 years, and I was involved in all these different entrepreneurial projects and companies, and I spent money that I didn't have. I borrowed money on my credit cards. In fact, I had 22 credit cards with $36,000 worth of debt on the credit cards, signing up in different companies. And over the course of 10 years, I had signed up in 11 different network marketing companies while I had my corporate job at the airline. And I never made a penny in any company. I never signed up a single distributor, never made any money. And then I met a guy, his name is Russ, and we never went into business together. But he was 25 years old, he was married, he had a little baby, and he was living in this huge, what I consider to be a mansion in Scottsdale, Arizona, with a big circle drive and a fountain out front and a library, and he drove an expensive sports car. And at that time, he had the lifestyle that I wanted. And so we got together, and he shared some wisdom with me. It was simple. And it really had nothing to do with the company, but he shared some things that shifted my mindset. It just shifted my focus. And I joined my 12th network marketing company, and in that company, I was there for 13 years, I made $8 million. And it was very simple. He told me that for every 30 people that you sign up in a company, whether it be if you're a realtor and you're a real estate broker and you sign up brokers, or if you're an insurance broker and you sign up insurance agents, or if you're a network marketer and you sign up distributors. He said for every 30 people that you sign up, typically you'll find that about 10 of them will do absolutely nothing, and there's nothing you can do about that. He said about 10 of them will do a little, like it's the realtor that sells one house a year. And then the other 10 will do a little more than a little, but he said one, typically out of 20 to 30, will go out and build a big business. And if you talk to any successful real estate broker, they'll tell you that they need to recruit typically 30, 40, 50 people to find one that's going to actually do anything big. So there was a coffee place called Coffee Plantation on Mill Avenue in Tempe, Arizona. My office at America West Airlines was there. They had just filed bankruptcy and cut my pay from $28,000 a year down to $14,000 a year. And what I started doing was setting up appointments with people that I knew to sit down with them at Coffee Plantation to show them my business. And my goal was to show the business 3 times a week. And my goal was to do that every single week for 2 years. Because I figured if I showed it 3 times a week for a month, that would be 12 presentations a month. If 11 people said no and 1 said yes every month, so if I showed it to 12 people a month, 3 a week, 11 said no and 1 said yes. If I did that every month for a couple years, I would have sponsored or recruited 24 people. That was my goal, because Russ had told me that for every 20 to 30 people you sign up, you'll have 10 that'll do nothing, 10 that'll do a little, 10 that'll do a little more than a little, and 1 will go out and build it big. So that was my goal. And I did that. After 2 years, I'd signed up 19 people. And from those 19, the 16th individual was a woman that was an analyst at America West Airlines, at the airline that I worked for. And she signed up a lady in New Mexico who was a secretary and a student. That lady started having meetings at her home, just little get-togethers. And over the next few years, that group grew to 12,000 distributors and 40,000 customers and made me my first $1 million. Well, I continued to do that for 13 years. In 13 years, I signed up 129 distributors. That's in 144 months. There's 144 months in 13 years. Signed up 129 distributors. Now, interestingly, 95% of my income came from 5 of those 129 people. And I had an organization of about 85,000 people. So there was a major shift that occurred in the industry that I was part of that caused the whole industry to get turned upside down. And about 8 years ago, I was faced with a business decision.
And that decision that he had to make because the company that he'd been with and he'd made all that money with just went bust. They disappeared overnight. He went from making millions of dollars to having nothing. And he wasn't sure what to do. He'd built up some savings, but he had high expenses, and he was living on his savings, and it was costing him about $20,000 a month out of his savings. And obviously you can't go on at that level indefinitely. And so he looked around, he found another business. He didn't go back to any of his old contacts, and he started over again. And what he did the second time around was he made the same amount as he'd made the first time, but in half the time. So he made $8 million, but he made it in just 7 years instead of 13 years. And he's gone on from there, and he's still with the same company that he was with then, and he makes millions of dollars a year. But what's interesting is he had a simple plan. Just to show the business to 3 people every week. And he did that week in, week out. Now, this was in the time before the internet. We now have the internet. We can speed things up. But it's difficult if you don't know what you're doing. And that is why you've been invited to this webinar, which is going to talk about done-for-you systems. It's going to show you how you can use the same principle to build a business. But you've got to be serious. You've got to say, I'm going to stick with this, and I'm going to set my goals, and I'm going to stick with them no matter what. Because if I can introduce over a period of time 150 to 200 people, I know that it will make me millions of dollars a year. It really is that simple. I hope you enjoy the webinar.